Hi, welcome to this online video training, Writing and Advisory Reports. My name is Alette den Ekster. I live in The Hague in the Netherlands and I'm a trainer in business communication. And on behalf of my colleagues from VEI, Dutch Water Operators, I'm honored to give you the most important basic tips on structuring an effective report. Please select a report of your own and keep it by hand during this video. In order to do so, I will give you some reflections assignments in the next 40 minutes to see where you could make some adjustments in your text to make it more reader friendly. Ready? There we go. What's in this video? This video is all about structuring your text effectively. We do that on the basis of the pyramid principle by Barbara Minto. Afterwards, we go to look at the introduction, how to present findings, using subtitles and signal words, extra tips for the management summary, and last but not least, the 7 steps of smart writing to have less stress during writing your report. And we finish this video course with a feedback offer you can't refuse. I hope you enjoy. Good luck! In the mid-80s, Barbara Minto discovered a new way of structuring reports. She found out that all her customers wanted to go to the main message of the report and therefore go to the end of the report before they learned all about the analysis of the research. So, in fact, the way we learn it at school, we learn it structuring our reports following the writer's logic from an analysis to the main message down below. Barbara Minta says, flip it around. Follow the reader's questions and start with the main message. So ask yourself, what is the main message of your report? Is it a conclusion or an advice? Try to start with that main message and then elaborate. Doing so, you will follow the reader's questions. First, he wants to know what, then he wants to know why, and maybe then he wants to know how. What, why, and how. Now it's time for your first reflection assignment. Take a look at your own report. What's the main question of this report? And where do you present the answer? If your report is classically structured, you probably find the answer to the main message of the reader down below at the bottom. So you'll find a chapter like conclusion or advice or findings. Try to get them at the front of the report and elaborate later on. Now please take 5 minutes to reflect on your own reports. So the pyramid principle is about putting the reader's interest above your own desire to send information. Structure your text accordingly and start with the main message for the reader. This gives you the pyramid principle. That means start with a conclusion or advice on top and then elaborate with findings or analysis at the bottom of the text. This gives you a top-down structure. But most writers I speak to find it a bit scary to jump to the conclusion. Therefore, an effective introduction is necessary. What does the reader need to know before he can understand the main message? I present the SCQ formula, which helps you to write a compact and funnel-shaped introduction, resulting in a clear overall text question. Let's have a look at the SCQ. So the SCQ stands for three letters: situation, complication, and question. These three together, in exactly this order, gives you a funnel-shaped introduction. Start with a situation, with a positive note about the context or the relationship with your reader. Then introduce the complication. What's the trigger of this report? Why was VEI's intervention necessary? Describe the problem and its risk. And then end the introduction with a question, the main question of this report. Was there an explicit advice question from the client? Or do you need to make an evaluation or present your findings? Make that into a question, and that gives you a clear introduction. Additionally, you could also make a bridge to the rest of the text by adding a few sentences about the method you used, what VEI did to research the case, and how this report is structured. For example, take a look at this introduction and see if you could recognize the elements of the SCQ. So let's analyze this together. I highlighted the different elements in different colors. Here you see in orange the situation, in blue the complication, and in pink the central question of this text. Additionally, you could add a brief description of your research and the bridge to the rest of the text. Now it's time for a 5-minute reflection assignment and take a look at the introduction of your own report. Do you follow the SCQ in the introduction? And is it easy to read and without too much detail? So a smart writer is writing top down by following the reader's questions. Here you can see the pyramids, the introduction, and recognize in every text you write that there's a question mark with an answer. Try to look at your text like a dialogue, a conversation with your reader. And be very smart and aware of the reader's questions. In that case, you can make a well structured text. In most cases, the reader wants to read an introduction, situation, complication, question, before he can go to the conclusion or advice. His question is, what is your main message? After that, his question will be, why is that your conclusion or advice? You present analysis or findings. And maybe he has another question, for example, an implementation of this advice. There you answer the how question. Most VEI reports are about presenting findings. So in the introduction, you have the main question, what did we find? And the reader is very curious about your findings, so following the introduction, you will present findings A, B, C, as many as you have. But remember to always follow the reader's questions on this lower level as well. So every finding, you should start with the question, what's going wrong? Here you present the problem. And followed by that, you answer the question, what can we do about it? Here you make a description of your recommendations. So always follow readers' questions, even on a lower level like findings. Take a look at this example. So even in smaller texts on a lower level, you always use the pyramid principle. So as a writer, there are a few things you can do to make the text more accessible by using subtitles and using signal words. What makes a good subtitle? If you present findings or advices, try to look at the main message of your paragraph and put that in the subtitle itself. So, a finding like risky water level at pump 6, or an advice with a verb in the subtitle like check the water quality, or advice reduce the water. So, the message of the paragraph is immediately visible in the subtitle. Another example, look at the text and the subtitles I added. You see, it's very helpful to read those subtitles before you read the paragraph beneath it. It gives you an overview and makes the text more accessible. Another tip is using signal words. You know, words like but, therefore, hence, consequently, thus, in addition to, use them a lot. I recommend to use them every second sentence. For example, another issue concerns sampling a reservoir using an open cut bottle because the bottle is not sterile. This sample, that's also a signal word, for reservoirs, this method, because it will also, these are all signal words that make the text very accessible and easily to understand. Now take another 5 minutes to have a reflection in your own report. Two questions. First, could you add specific subtitles to make the text more clear and accessible? And remember, try to put the main message in the subtitle. And the second question, check the amount of signal words. Do you connect your sentences easily for the reader? When you write a management summary, keep in mind that the reader is at a management level, so he has strategic questions about this text. His main questions are probably what is your conclusion, advice, or findings? Maybe how, and maybe why. Put those questions in a natural order for the reader and keep it short and simple. No details. Start with a paragraph with the SEQ in it, because also the management summary needs an introduction. After that, you start with the main message. Keep in mind the pyramid principle. Don't use any figures, like tables or diagrams. No pictures, no details, no examples, just an high overview. No links to other documents, because the management summary should be a readable text, a short report on its own. Of course, use bullets when possible because you need to keep it short and simple. And last but not least, try to keep it at one page. Do you recognize this writer's stress? when you don't have any overview of what you're doing, time is slipping away, and you don't have enough energy anymore to make the report effective and correct. The next steps will help you to get a better grip on your writing process by doing this in 7 steps. And the main secret is try to procrastinate the writing. Don't start too soon. Let's have a look. The first step is to outline a writing assignment. What's the reason or trigger for writing this report? Why is this text necessary? Which question will you answer? And maybe you recognize the questions you need to follow in the introduction, the SCQ. Here you get the input for that part of the text. The second step is to do your research. I cannot help you with that, but find answers to your questions and make notes. But very important message, do not try to write yet. Procrastinate the writing. A good text starts here with getting overview and knowing what to write in what order. And the order is step 3. Draw a mind map. What are the reader's questions? Can you order them accordingly? And after that, you finally start writing. My advice is to start with a draft. How would you say it? Which words would you use when you would talk to the reader? Do not criticize every exact wording. That's for later on. That's for step 5. First, you have to structure the indicators. In step 6, you edit the wording. And last but not least, you check the spelling, but make it the last step. Don't correct your text too early because it will get you demotivated or extracted from the task you're about to do, like getting a creative, well thought through text. So now we come to the end of this video course. I hope my tips will give you a better grip on your writing process. And from now on, please try to structure your text by using the pyramid principle and my tips for the introduction. You remember the SEQ? Pay attention to subtitles, titles, and signal words, and I promise you the reader will appreciate it. If you want any feedback on your report, here you'll find my information, and I will give you the feedback within 4 days. On behalf of all your colleagues from VEI Dutch Water Operators, I wish you good luck and success.